Ethiopia will start filling the Grand Renaissance Dam in a couple of months. Egypt and Sudan are desperate to have a binding agreement before the second filling process starts. But what do the citizens of Sudan and other riparian countries like South Sudan think about the dam? Do they share the same sentiments like their respective government officials, or do they see the dam in a different perspective? I have invited two guests. Ibrahim Hijazi is a political activist from Sudan, and John Mayol is a journalist and political activist from South Sudan. I will start with Ibrahim to introduce himself. Ibrahim, can you introduce us? Can you tell us about your background?
First of all, thank you for inviting us to talk about this very important issue, not just for Ethiopia, but I think for the East Africa, for all of us. And as you said, sometimes the political people on power, they may reflect different view than regular people on the street. And for that reason, we have to talk about those kind of issue. I'm very happy and delighted to be in this show and to talk for the first time to Ethiopian brothers and sisters. And I wish them the best. And as far as background about myself, I live in the United States for 22 years, and I've been political activist, very active in the political movement in Sudan.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Ibrahim Hijazi.
Yeah, thank you. And John Kor? Tell us a bit background about what you do and what your contribution is for your country, and also what exactly you are doing now.
Absolutely. My name is John Mayol, as all of you have heard, and I would like to say that good morning and good afternoon. It depends which part of the world that you have tuned in tonight to watch this very important and magnificent, project that we are going to be talking about. I am a South Sudanese, live here in the United States. I host a concerned citizen of South Sudan platform on the Facebook Live, link with the YouTube as well. And also a member of United Citizens for Change, which is a South Sudanese peaceful political movement intended to bring about change in South Sudan, advocating for justice, liberty, and prosperity. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to air my views in these very important issues, the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Ibrahim, the dam is now in its final stage of completion, and a lot of things are being said, and it has attracted the international community's attention right now. What is your feeling about the dam, and what do the people of Sudan generally feel about the dam?
That's a very good question, and thank you for asking that question. I think how I feel about the dam, I think it is a very good project, and I think it will bring a lot of advantage for Ethiopia and also in Sudan. And actually, the dam, where it's located, is like 20 kilometers from the border of Sudan. So we are supposed to be the first country cheering for this dam. And as I said, as far as the political movement in Sudan, or as far as regular people in Sudan, even the government in Sudan, if you go back 2 months ago, they are in the same side with Ethiopia as far as with the dam. And even some officials, they visited the site. And for a sudden, I think there's some change on the government, the way they deal with this dam. But I will say the majority of the people in Sudan, they don't see any threat for this dam. In fact, because they share the heritage with their brother in Ethiopia, and I don't think they have an issue with the dam as far as regular people.
So do the people have enough information about the dam?
That's also another good question. And as you all know about Sudan now going through political change. We went from like 30 years of dictatorship going to democracy stage. And right now we are in kind of like a beginning of steps toward democracy. And since we live during those dictatorship, The political of Sudan and even the regular people of Sudan, they are very smart. They rely on the information with their own like sources. They will look and they will search. They don't go but what the TV station tells them what's going on. Sometimes they will go with independent TV station, the same like your TV, educating people about the correct information. But I will say the people of Sudan, and they will chase the information and they will find their own sources, and they don't buy the propaganda. As I said, living on dictatorship, all you see is propaganda. But now we are in this stage. We will never buy the propaganda unless we get the facts. The facts speak louder. And I will say that the Sudanese people, they are very educated, they are very smart, and they know what is the propaganda and what is not. So they are very aware of what's going on in Sudan, and they understand the political aspect of it as well.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And John Kor, what's your feeling generally about the dam, and if it's possible to know the feeling of the people of South Sudan?
Thank you, Fasil. You know, before I express my feeling or the views of South Sudanese people about, you know, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance dams, I would like, you know, to talk a little bit about commonalities and historical ties between Ethiopian people and people of South Sudan and people of Sudan as a whole. We recall very well that actually those three countries, by then it was Sudan was one. People of Ethiopia, they have been so generous, you know, to the neighboring countries. I recall very well, you know, the first struggle of Sudanese civil war in 1960s, which is end up, you know, with the Addis Ababa Agreement in 1972. It was negotiated in Ethiopia. That's one. Also, the liberation struggle, which is started in 1983, was also started in Ethiopia. So to tie the commonalities and historical background between Sudanese and South Sudanese with Ethiopian, people of Ethiopian are very generous, are very kind, and are just to people of South Sudan and to the neighboring countries. Of course, if we go and talk about this generosity and kindness, we can see that you hosted, people of Ethiopia, they hosted Sudanese on both civil war, you know, in 60s and in the 80s as well. And at the end of the day, we didn't see any problems, you know, with the people that have been in Ethiopia. To give you my views or feeling toward the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, actually, I do see here there is a lot of good to be offered. We in the region of Eastern Africa, we have been in downfall for a very long time. Now, if Ethiopian, they wanted to start it, you know, to lift it, their citizen from the property that they have been for a very long time, it is a good thing. It is a good thing for the people of Ethiopia. It is a good thing for the people of Sudan, for the people of South Sudan. People of South Sudan, actually, they don't have a lot of knowledge about this. I know, I'm talking about the average man. But the government official, I know they do. But from my own perspective, I do see that there is a need for this, you know, huge project to occur or to take place, because it's going to be beneficial for both Ethiopian people, people of South Sudan, and people of Sudan as well, because there is a lot of benefit will come out of this. We are talking about the electricity that's going to be important from these countries. And we know that in order to go about industrialization or to have a huge, you know, project in this region, and then we need power in order for economic growth. Since we have this great Renaissance dam that is going to be supplying the regional and the people of Ethiopia with the electricity, why not? It's something that we should be proud of. And I believe so. An average South Sudanese actually is in love with this great, you know, project that Ethiopian are working on. And I don't see any threat whatsoever to our region or to any region, you know, above us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jankor. Now let me go to Ibrahim. You know, you have been talking about the position of the Sudanese government on the Nile issue. They have been supporting or been on the side of Ethiopia, I think a couple of years ago, or a year ago, and now they have changed their mind, and it seems that they are supporting the position of Egypt. And even very recently, Egypt and Sudan have have launched a military drilling on which is very unfortunate right now, because the whole of Africa, as you know, has been in turmoil for a long period of time now. Everyone wants us to see a peaceful and growing region. What drives Sudan to change its mind time and again regarding the GERD?
This is, I myself, be honest with you, as a Sudanese citizen, and I watch a lot of things going on, like in a lot of things, because as in the region, we have a lot of issues. Sometimes it will bring us together, or we will have to talk like multiple countries about certain issue. As you say, Sudan, it's not even a couple years ago. I think Sudan, a couple months ago, it was sided with Ethiopia, and they don't see any threat at all for this project of Grand Dam. So, we can just, the very things, whenever something like that happen, like you see the political official changing their mind, you need to go to see what is behind that. We need to go to the history, as my brother John Carr says. Always history tell us what happened and why people act that way. Sudan and Egypt, we have like a long history, and in fact, Sudan and Egypt used to be one country in the past, and Sudan was with dictatorship until recently, until 2019, they're under the dictatorship of Omar al-Bashir. And yes, and Egypt also, they have revolution on 2011, and actually at the same time where they start building the dam in Ethiopia, that's in April 11, and I think the revolution for Egypt during that time, I think on June on 2011. But as of right now, Egypt is under dictatorship. That is obvious. And Sudan, now we go through this change, but we have two fractions of government. We have the military fraction, and we do have the civilian fraction. But for us watching what's going on in Sudan, you can tell the military fraction, they are controlling still the government, because if you look on those political individual, those military individual in the government, they are the same individual used to be with the Bashir regime. So basically, we took the Bashir out, but we did not get rid of all the people who work with the Bashir. And any movement you have to change in the government, some of the previous regime it will stay in. That is what the military always do. But I think part of Sudan changing their, I don't think, because I asked this question to some of my...
Let me intervene here. But the civilian government, for instance, Prime Minister Hamdok, has openly stated, I heard him on French TV, France 24, stating his fear about the completion of the dam without a binding agreement. He said that Ethiopia will switch on and switch off according to her volition, and he said that we should have a binding agreement before the filling starts in July. And it seems that even the civilian part of the government shares the view of the military section of the government, and it seems there is some kind of coalition or sharing of ideas and positions regarding the GERD. So is it possible to differentiate that?
I myself, I watched that interview with Mr. Hamadok, and part of the issue is to come up with common, about the dam. Let us think about it this way. Even if we are a Sudanese citizen, I support the dam, but still, if there is a certain issue, I will say, for example, the filling of the dam, because right now I think we are all in stage of the filling of the dam. You're going to have some technical issue as far as with other countries, and I think that's normal. I think that's normal, and there is no wrong with that. There's no wrong with us to have how the dam going to be filled, because the way you fill the dam, you have to have percentage of the water, like you hold some percentage of the water. and that's part of the water. We hold it for the dam. It will tell you how long it's going to take you to fill the dam. It may take, the average, normally they say it take like 6 years. Those are going to be the concern, even with the civilian government. It will be, even with the regular Sudanese or the regular Egyptian, like if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to fill the dam in, say, for example, in 3 years, that's mean you're going to control maybe 40% of the water going through the River Nile. And there is some concern, and it is legit. It's not like something we are against Ethiopia to build their own dam. But I think Hamdok, you can rate Hamdok. Hamdok is like very, the position he's in right now with this signing of agreement after we throwing the Bashir regime, he is not in a strong position, and he have to work his way. But as far as he's concerned about we have to come with an agreement, I think that is legit. There is nothing wrong with that. Just to have an agreement, but doesn't mean I oppose the dam. Sudan always will support the dam. But Egypt's position is 100% against the dam itself, even from the beginning. But I think the position of Sudan, even if you look for the civilian government, fraction of the government, they support the dam, but they have some concern. That's what I can read from the interview with Mr. Hamdok in France 24.
Thank you. John Corr, let me come to you. What is the position of the Sudanese government regarding the GERD, if it's known?
South Sudan government.
South Sudanese government.
Okay. Fasil, if I have to answer this question, a very good question, actually. A little earlier, I just talked about the commonalities and historical background between people of Ethiopia and people of Sudan and South Sudan, and the tie, intermarried, and generosity and kindness that's between these people living on the region. And I can go a little bit, like I said, I talk about, how Ethiopian, they've been just, how they've been kind, how they've been generous to their neighbors. And this will take me back, when we talk about the historical tie between Ethiopia, Sudan, and in my own opinion, and the history also can, prove that actually people of Ethiopia, they have more tie to Sudan than the Egypt, and this is something that we should know is because of generosity and being just, even going back further, the time of Prophet Muhammad. You remember the King Najashi? when those followers of Prophet Muhammad, they were oppressed, in Al-Madinah. What did Prophet Muhammad said to his followers? They said, go to Habasha, go to Ethiopia. There a king is very just to everyone. And then they migrated. So that tells you something, about the people of Ethiopia. So now going to this issue of the position of South Sudan government, on the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. And why last 2 weeks you have seen that a military maneuvering or military exercise between Sudan and Egypt. This is not a first time for sale, because Egypt has been depending on its own military intelligence, and also the crisis that occurred along the basin countries, Nile. They always have been they've been relying on that. They want more destruction to happen in this country. In Sudan has been in turmoil for a very long time, which has led finally to have a two-state. And also Ethiopia, they have been in a struggle for quite some time. And all these treaties that have been signed, Ethiopia, they've never been part of it. South Sudan was not a country, of course. Even Uganda and other Nile Basin countries, they were not. So Egypt actually wanted more problem to occur in this country in order to quit or not to think about any developmental project, because anyone that messes with the Nile water is the first enemy to Egypt. But when you come to the reality, what happened last 2 weeks? The military cooperation, what triggered it? Why all of a sudden, my brothers from Sudan, why do they want, to fight a fight that actually has nothing to do with them? And I mentioned to you a little bit later that the tie with Ethiopia, Sudan, is more than tie with Egypt. So I don't see this is going to be working fine with Sudanese here. And I believe so, like Ibrahim mentioned, that this military council, they've been driven by Egyptian to do what is not right to be doing. In order to go into the table of negotiation and sort of out the issue that are concerned to them, now they are stressing their muscles that actually we are stronger, we can do this to intimidate. But we are living in 21st century. And in 21st century, you cannot intimidate me if I want to do any developmental project that actually will benefit or will bring interest to my citizen. So to answer your question on South Sudan, we are still also with a dictator government. South Sudan, not too long ago, we have been fighting for justice, liberty, and prosperity. But unfortunately, now we have our own brother, our own uncle is in charge of our affairs in South Sudan, as have forgotten, the history that I talk a little bit about it, the tie with Ethiopian. That Ethiopian actually, they've been giving us a upper handed for the struggle in 60s and also in 80s, which has led to comprehensive peace agreement in 2005. And now they have forgotten all these things, and they start falling in love with power. All in all, as I said, an average South Sudanese, they are with Ethiopian. They don't see any threat. Actually, they feel there will be good mutual interest between these two countries, because at the end of the day, South Sudan needs energy. We don't have energy now. Before we gain independence, there were a proposal, to build a dam on the border between South Sudan and Uganda, which is Fola Dam. But Egyptian, as I said a little earlier, they rush, to our dictator President Salva Kiir and said, you don't need to build any dam. We are going to supply you with a huge generator, which will last for 50 years. That actually to kill the plan that people of South Sudan have been yearning for a very long time. Now, if you ask every average South Sudanese today, they supported the dam because it will supply electricity. We will import electricity from Ethiopia with lower costs. South Sudan is an oil producing country. We want to build more refineries, right? Now we have an issue that when we transfer our oil, it goes through Sudan because we are a deadlocked land country. When it goes through Sudan, the transportation fees are expensive. But now if we have an energy in the country, then we'll be able to refine the oil, and then we can sell it to the neighboring countries. And that is plus. That will create more trade between us and Ethiopia, between us and Sudan, and it will lower the cost also of transition fees through Port Sudan or any other port that we will choose in the future. So actually, this is beneficial. It is the best interest of our people. But our dictator, President Salva Kiir, actually, he is not interested in that. That's why you're seeing the first time President Sisi visiting South Sudan to show threat to Ethiopian. So you cannot go and do that. But again, like I said from the beginning, Ethiopian people, they don't look for any trouble whatsoever. They have been generous, they have been kind for a very long time.
Sorry, what does South Sudan get in return? Quarreling with Ethiopia is more dangerous than quarreling with Egypt, or they can still keep, or they can defy, if some kind of push is coming from Egypt, and it is better for them to be more at peace with Ethiopia than maybe Egypt, because they are the direct neighbors of Ethiopia, and anything that affects Ethiopia will directly affect South Sudan. And why does South Sudanese government budge to Egypt's interest?
Good question. Actually, South Sudan does not get any interest with Egypt. But our dictator, as I said a little earlier, to you, that actually Egypt always has been depending on military intelligence, to cause more obstructions for any developmental project occur on this Nile. President Kiir actually is interested for Egypt to support the government of Egypt, to support him to remain in the power. That's the only interest that he's going to get. But the average South Sudanese are not getting anything. That's why I told you, South Sudanese people, they are 100% with Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam to be constructed and to be filled so we can have that electricity. And we have more in common, and we have more, here, mutual relationship. We are going to produce, if Ethiopia become an industrialized country, we're going to do a trade here. I have milk in South Sudan. I have a lot of cows in South Sudan. Ethiopia has coffee, has bun. We need that. So we can have, you live in Netherlands, and you are aware of Schengen trade, between Finland, Norway, and Denmark, and Netherlands. Yeah. They have trade. Why not? We can have sort of something like that that will benefit our citizen in the region. But yes, to give you a full answer, people of South Sudan will not get any benefit whatsoever, because Egyptians, we never benefit from them since 1821. They're always coming to Sudan just to grab the resources. They were coming just to get ivory and slavery and so forth. There is no benefit whatsoever. The only beneficial from this is President Salva Kiir to remain in power, just to get guns from military support.
Good. Let me come to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, now, as I see, Egypt wants us to keep the colonial treaties that were signed between Egypt and Sudan, and also Ethiopia and Britain, and wants to keep its lion's share of the river Nile. And I think that is the main reason why these three countries couldn't come up with some kind of agreement. And especially the 1959 agreement shared the Nile River, to Egypt and Sudan. Egypt gets the lion's share, and Sudan gets a small amount of the water. And Ethiopia wants the nullification of this treaty. What is your view on these colonial treaties? Should they keep as a binding force among these countries, or should we have another treaty that divided the river among its riparian countries?
That is this question. Be honest with you, when you talk about colonial during the British Anglo Egypt, during that time when they signed this treaty, it is very funny to see, like, many countries share the water of the Nile. Like, if you talk about the Nile starts from Khartoum, but before Khartoum there is Blue Nile and there is White Nile. So if you're talking, I'm gonna have a treaty between Sudan and Egypt, and you don't have the other countries like Ethiopia, and now South Sudan, we have it on an independent country by itself. I think the treaty is very unfair. You don't have to be like something to think about it. The treaty basically says Egypt gets 75% of the River Nile, and Sudan get 25% of the rest of the Nile, and all other countries combined, they will get 0. Yeah. This is unfair, and you can have like treaty with other country. The treaty is binding with the country who signed the treaty, but it's not binding with the other country did not sign the treaty. Like, say for example, we are in one house, and we're all brothers, me, Faisal, and John Kor. So me and John Kor say, you know what, we're going to do a treaty about sharing the resources in this house. So John Kor, you will get 25% of these resources of our house, our father house. And me, Ibrahim, I will get 75%. And then John Kor, you will get 0. And then John Kor says, you know what, where is my share? And me and John Kor saying, Faisal, your share is 0. And that is obvious, it is unfair. I think the treaty needs to be ratified, and it needs to be reasonable. And if other countries sign treaty among themselves and leaving other country who participate, and actually the Blue Nile River participate 80% of the Nile flow, like the other 20% coming from White River. So overall, the treaty has to be ratified to reflect the interests of all countries. And if Egypt and Sudan, they want to come sit in the table, say, "Hey, Ethiopia, we're going to sit down with you guys, but this is our treaty, and you have to be following our treaty." You're not going to have any agreement, because you left Ethiopia with no option but to take their own way.
Good. John Kor, would you like to comment on these colonial treaties?
Yeah, absolutely. Ibrahim actually nailed it down. It's absolutely is greedy. It's just being greedy, like he give you an example that, we are brothers and we must share, the thing equally. But, going back, that's one of the reasons Egypt on Entebbe agreement in 2010, they refused to sign that agreement because they don't want to lose any share. How that fair someone be signed on behalf of you. And in that time, you were not free. Sudan was not free. You know, all these treaties that they were signed, Sudan was still under colonies, you know, of Britain. And now all of a sudden, you are coming and saying that everyone has to be abide by something that I was not part of it. South Sudan was not part of it. Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Burundi, and all these countries, they were not part of it. Now you are saying that, for sale is not just only about being greedy. It's about power, because Egypt, you know, as I said from the beginning, they are stressing their muscles. They have been, you know, like spoiled, you know, whatever, using the political hegemony in the region. And they wanted to continue with that. When they see a little brother is rising up, try to build his own house, try to piece things together, so he can grow and become, someone like them or living a decent life. They don't want to do that. They see he's going to share and he's going to compete with them in the market. And Egypt don't want that. Ethiopia, by building this, you know, grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam, that's going to open an opportunity for the citizen of Ethiopia, citizen of the region. Tourism will, you know, explore. Industrialization will explore. Ethiopia is going to be, you know, the destination of investors. We are going to have more mutual, you know, relationship here. Like I said, I talked about the refineries. We need electricity in South Sudan. If we need in order to export the ready oil, we don't want to export the crude oil because it's too expensive, you know, using that fee. So it's all about power. Egypt doesn't want to see a little brother or a little sister rising up, feeding their own people, you know, being their international arena. What argument?
But
what
John,
argument Egypt is
You're right. You're right, John.
What argument are we going to make now? Because if they talk about population, go ahead.
Ethiopia is not the only riparian country in the region. There are, as you said, other countries like South Sudan, Uganda, Kenya. Mm-hmm. But they don't seem to oppose Egypt's insistence that this treaty must be kept. And it is only Ethiopia that is now, that we see challenging Egypt's, position regarding the colonial treaties. Why is it only Ethiopia that's challenging this position? Why other countries are not joining Ethiopia?
Good question. And that's why, you know, when I said from the beginning, we have a dictator in South Sudan that actually is looking for its own interest to remain in power. But in 2010, actually, you know, the basin countries of the Nile, they call that, you know, meeting. So we can share, you know, the Nile water equally. But now because Ethiopia is moving ahead, because it seemed like the others are not doing anyone, I must go beyond. I wanted to do developmental project within my own territory under the absolute Ethiopian, you know, jurisdiction, and intended here, you know, to do a project for its own people. But yes, you're right. It's a good question. And that question, actually, we need to direct it to basin countries, you know, Nile basin countries to come out clearly. They need to be clear, because today, if Ethiopia want to do this project and now it start being bullied by Egypt, and then everybody's being quiet, tomorrow, the dictator in South Sudan is going to go away. Nobody's remain in power permanently. And the light-minded South Sudanese, they want to start developmental project. Well, we are going to be next. Ethiopia is going to be now. No, don't do it. You know, because actually, I own this Nile. Like what they're doing now, so-called Nile guardians. Who are you guiding Nile from? We are the people of Nile. We are the Nilotic. We've been there hundreds of thousands of years, and you want to guide Nile from us? We share, you know, this water. And you cannot say that you wanted to guide Niles. Okay? So yes, today is Ethiopia, tomorrow is Sudan, and that's why I'm sending warning to my brothers in Sudan that actually they need to be careful. They don't need to support Egypt. Egypt is about itself, it's about greedy. They don't want to see anyone lifting themselves to grow. They don't want that to happen. Tomorrow is going to be South Sudan. When South Sudan is stable and they want to do project so that we can feed our own people and have, you know, a decency in that country, Egypt is going to stand and say, no, don't do it. Because they have been depending on military intelligence to obstruct any developmental project in the region. And that's the time now, African countries, East African countries, the basin Nile countries, they need to wake up and talk clearly, support this Ethiopian project because it's beneficial for all citizens in the region.
Ibrahim, now we seem now in a gridlock, and do you feel that war is imminent in riparian countries Sudan and Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt versus Ethiopia. Do you fear that war is imminent?
First,
okay.
I think that the joint force treaty between Egypt and Sudan, this is for a long time. They do this kind of exercise, but in a certain time in the past years, they stopped doing that. And I think for the way
sorry,
as I said,
let me intervene here. Sorry, but Egypt has also made some kind of military agreement with Kenya, with Uganda, and again with Djibouti. It seems that it is encircling Ethiopia. That is the fear, at least in Ethiopia, and some fear that what is going to happen sometime in the future.
Okay, as I said, I don't see any military conflict among countries because United States, like the president of the United States now, we have Joe Biden compared to Donald Trump. If it is Donald Trump in the office, I will have concern myself because I live here and even I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But to have Joe Biden and change of administration on the White House, it's a big solve to this issue. Because I don't know, you guys listen to the three ways call, one prime minister of Hamdok, of Sudan, Hamdok, and Burhan, and they have also Netanyahu. They have them in the Oval Office on the speaker, and Donald Trump talking with all of them. And then Donald Trump says Egypt are going to use the force if this not being solved. That was shocking, and that was a concern to me at that time. And thank God Donald Trump is not in the White House. So with this Biden administration, first thing what they did, they already appointed envoy to the Horn of Africa. And I think he already hit the ground running. And I think that he sent also two senators. They visited Sudan and they visited also Ethiopia. And part of the issue, I think there is a concern about the Tigray conflict. That is very huge issue right now in Ethiopia. But that is one of the issue. They send those envoy to Ethiopia. But also this dam, the issue with Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia. That's why they talk about that issue as well. As far as politically, I see there is a military going to happen in this regard. I don't think so. As I said, Sudan, we've been, since our independence in 1956, until now, we have a lot of civil war in Sudan. Egypt, I will say, if there is a war or there is any dispute or any war arise between the three countries, I think the only people going to suffer is Ethiopia and Sudan. And that's why we need to be careful, because we are the one who's sharing the border. Egypt is not sharing the border with Ethiopia. The people of our country, Ethiopia and Sudan, they are the one who are going to suffer. Egyptian people, they will not suffer because they are not sharing a border. I'm just talking here logic. So is Egypt intelligent? They're going to start pushing to create, like, support those people to extend that war? You never know. There's a lot of things happen behind the scene. We may say something, but if that's their intention, it could be. If the intelligent in the Sudanese government helping the Egyptian counterpart doing those kind of things, I don't know. And it may happen, something like that. Always you have to protect, to have to think about the worst scenario. But as of right now, for the humanitarian reason, I don't think that is actually going to happen. Because as I said, Sudan right now, we are, since 30 years of dictatorship, we are outcast out of the international community. And we are finally came back, and there's a lot of issue we solve through Hamdok, Prime Minister Hamdok, the civilian government. And if there is any issue like that going to happen, I don't think there will be support from the civilian government or even the regular citizen of Sudan. We don't want to go to that era, and I don't think there is an issue to create that issue. And even that border between Ethiopia and Sudan, those people live there for hundreds of years. And there was no issue. And as I said, there is treaty 1902 happened during that time, and the border is already marked. So that issue, I think it is low like risk. I will consider it right now. But I will say the intelligent people, sometimes they may do something to manipulate the issue they can agree with. But I will be very careful. But as I said, right now, Sudan, we are going back to the international community, and we have a lot of economic issue to deal with. And even this issue right now in tension between Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia, the regular people sometimes they don't put it on the high priority. The higher priority right now about the economic factor, because that is what everybody concerned about stability of the country, about democracy. But they will go again or create a war. I don't think they will get the support from the regular average Sudanese people. I don't think that will happen.
Yeah, okay. And John Kor, do you see any military confrontation in the region, maybe in the foreseeable future? I don't know when it is, but some people talk about that. And what's your view?
Yeah, to answer that question for Sale, is there is an imminent, military action here in the region, between Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt? We wish such a thing not to happen, because this is a time that we need to flourish. Ethiopia need to flourish, Sudan need to flourish, South Sudan need to flourish, any other country need to flourish. But at the same time, it would be unwise for Sudanese authorities, it would be unwise for them to allow Egypt to use Sudan as a battlefield to achieve their goal. Remember, Faisal, from the beginning, I told you that Egypt always depends on internal crisis within these countries. So it would be unwise for Egypt, for Sudanese, to accept Egypt to use Sudan as a battlefield. Egypt has nothing to lose, like what my friend Ibrahim has put it, because now they don't have direct border with Ethiopia. This is going to affect Sudan directly. People of Sudan are going to suffer, but Sudan now is the time that they need to put their thing together. They're already coming out of the war. There is a lot of political movement, army struggle. They barely signed peace deal. Egypt does not have any goodwill to Sudan. Egypt is still now occupied Halab and Shalalatin, all the way northeast. They occupy this. If Egypt really were having a good face on Sudanese, they would have evacuated that land. But now Sudan is going through transition and a very weak time, and they are taking this an opportunity and using it to their own interest. But I said it would be unwise for Sudanese to accept that, because an average Sudanese is the one that's going to suffer. So Ethiopia, of course, have the right to protect themselves if there is any imminent threat to the dam and to their people. They can do what is necessarily, but we don't wish for such a thing to happen. We hope things to be solved through table of negotiation. The region of East Africa will support this. They need to be wise. They need to think deeply, and they need to realize that beating up a little brother, that's not a power. Because if you want to be powerful, it's by lifting a little brother, it's by lifting a little sister. Allow them to grow. But you cannot come and stretch your muscle and say, no, I am stronger, I can do this, and I don't want you to grow. That's not going to take us anywhere. As I said, we are in 21st century, and I have right to growth, you have a right to growth, and all of us has a right to growth.
This is my last question, Ibrahim. What should be done to resolve this issue, or the Nile water saga? And what is expected from the people in this regard? I mean, the people have to make, I think, some kind of, they have to pressure their own governments to come and to resolve the issue peacefully. War, as you said, should be the last resort. But personally, I don't want to see war in that region, because we have seen it enough. And but what should be done?
Seriously, when you think about the people, the power of the people, and the people, they have a power if they used to use it, and how that power gonna work. We have to come as a regular citizen, like to educate people and to monopolize. It's like to go to demonstrate on the street and do whatever to bring the attention to the government official. But I think there's election coming up on Ethiopia, and as far as Sudan, we're still watching, and still at the end of this transitional government period, they will be voting. But as of right now, from Sudan aspect, and for regular Sudanese people, they do not want to see any war, because as we said, we have longest war in the history, and we suffer a lot from wars. The wars, I don't think is an option for Sudanese. As far as for all of us like South Sudan and Ethiopia and Sudan, I think we need to come up with creating platform, like just regular political activists trying, because if you don't come together, those things, if it happen now, it will happen in the future. At least we're going to have platform kind of bringing people together for anything may arise in the future. I don't think war is an option, and I don't think war is going to happen. But the only things right now, I think for Ethiopian, and I know they put their pride on this dam, and I think I just went and I find out who financed this dam, and I find out it is own regular Ethiopian who are buying share on bond to build their own dam, and that's outstanding. And I think it is very bright for our brother in Ethiopia. And also I went to the history, and the only country did not like colonize during in the past is Ethiopia. And that is also say a lot about the regular Ethiopian people. They already have this pride, they have this national pride for their country. But the only thing I will think it will hurt Ethiopia people now is the issue with Tigray. This issue is huge issue. That's why there will be sanctions coming against Ethiopia, and they have the official, they have the people, they have to come up, they have to solve peacefully the Tigray issue. They have to negotiate, they have to go, because they have to learn from Sudan. We've been fighting many years, and what is solve our problem is not the gun. What solve our problem is peace negotiation table. And that's how you can bring people together. You will take a lot of issue out of the way. Egypt, they will continue to take advantage of the people around other country, not educated, not taking care of their own resources. But for us, we're not gonna allow other country to think for us. I wish this dam, the only thing will solve the issue. They need to negotiate how they refill this dam. I think there is a percentage out of it. They say the average, it will take 6 to 7 years. That is the average way to fill it up without having big impact of other countries. And I think it has more advantage compared to disadvantage. I think they need to come to negotiation, and they need to solve it, so that way we have to enjoy this huge project for Africa, not just for Ethiopia only, but I think for all Africa. And I wish you guys the best on completing this dam. Always, any decision we make, even in regular life, always you're going to see obstacle in our way. But what is going to succeed us is to use the wise decision compared to the unwise decision. And I think negotiation always is very tools. And if we can agree, the three countries cannot agree together on sitting on the table, it is okay to bring outsider. Because right now, who help us in Sudan to solve our problem? Our brother in South Sudan. And also in the dispute or the problem we have in the past with South Sudan before they became their own country, United States, they work as broker, and we end up solving that issue. So we need to listen to the other outsider to be just kind of mutual, and they don't have any advantage of our issue. And that's all I can say. We need to sit down, and we have to solve our issue through negotiation. And we cannot solve issue. Gun will never solve a problem. War will never an answer. And that's all I can say.
You're right, but Ethiopia is saying that all issues should be negotiated under the auspices of the African Union, and still it is keeping that view. But I think I heard from the Sudanese officials that 90% of the issue has been resolved, and it's only the 10% that remains to be contentious. But I share your view that this 10% issue shouldn't lead these countries into some kind of military conflict that should be resolved in one or another way. Now, John Core, if you want to reflect on what exactly should be done, or what you suggest should be done to resolve this issue, and especially what is expected from the peoples of the Horn of Africa, or Africa in general.
Thank you, Fasil, one more time, and thank you, Ibrahim. I think yes, the table of negotiation always its best option to solve any outstanding issues or any problem that occurred. We have an umbrella, we have a home, and a home that we have to resolve our problem is AU, African Union. Even before we are looking into outsider, are we believing in our own home that African Union can resolve our problem? And that's the tricky point here I see, because Egypt actually, if they do believe in AU, if they believe that they are part of Africa, and if they believe that they are part of African Union, and then they shouldn't be just going out and making all this campaign, with European or France or the United States and others. They gotta come home. And then we have to sit down home. And if we are not getting a solution, and then if you feel they have been unjust to you, and then that's the time that you can resort to outsiders and seek any other solution. Other than that, table of negotiation is the only solution. And I keep advising my Sudanese people that actually I don't want Sudan to be used by Egypt as a battlefield. The same thing to South Sudanese people. Egypt has never had any good faith on you, because since 1800, they are always coming to collect. They don't feel that you deserve. Tonight, we are talking about conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt. Now they wanted to use Sudan against Egypt. They want to use South Sudan. Sorry, they want to use Sudan against Ethiopia. They want to use Sudan against Ethiopia. But guess what is going to happen? Tomorrow, you wanted to do something in South Sudan. They are going to use your neighboring countries against you. Egypt has been thinking many options that actually will destroy the countries in the region. They've been thinking about, digging the canal from the Congo River to a Nile. Do you know what is going to happen if they do that? It's going to destroy, the land in central Equatoria, part of South Sudan. And that's going to devastate a lot of people there. See how they are thinking. But at the end of the day, we need to think wisely. Military is not an option. Sudan should not be used. South Sudan should not be used. And our politicians should think wisely and look for the interests of their people, and think and strategize for the future, for generation to come. For generation to come. This grand Ethiopian runners and dams is not going to impact anyone. It's going actually to bring growth for the region, for you and for others who are in the region. So that's what I can say. Egypt need to come back to the home of Africa. If they really believe that they belong to Africa, they need to come to AU, and then we can solve our problem right there. Other than that, United States is not going to do anything for you, or European Union or France, or whatever you call them. They are not going to do anything for you. I think that's the path that we needed to take. Come home, let's sit in table negotiation, no war. We need to grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, friends. It was really great on my part to having you and to hear your opinions on this very vital issue. And I hope to see you sometime in the future. It was really a very lively and very informative discussion. And keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.